A blind girl sat alone for 2 hours in an upscale cafe, ignored by the world, until a poor waitress risking her job dared to approach simply to wipe up spilled water and bring her a hot chocolate. She didn't know the child's mother, a powerful, icy billionaire, was silently watching from a luxury car outside. From one small act of kindness, 3 lives that seemed destined never to intersect were swept into an unimaginable journey of transformation. Buried dark secrets, unhealed family wounds, and a song titled, A Friend's Mother brought an entire audience to tears. And then that little girl, through her blind eyes, taught the world where true light truly lies. Chapter 1, Table Number 7 in the Sightless Gaze. The wall clock struck 5 in the afternoon. The aroma of Arabica coffee mingled with the scent of freshly baked waffles, creating a warm atmosphere at least for those not sitting alone at table number 7. In the quietest corner of Café Lumière, a place reserved for the elite, a girl of about 10 sat silently, her eyes behind dark glasses fixed on an undefined void. No one noticed her small hands trembling, fumbling for the braille menu that should have been on the table. But today it had been forgotten. Clara. Ninawan in her Her posture was impeccable. Her brown hair neatly tied her designer dress flawless, but her eyes, or rather the emptiness where her gaze should be, betrayed a deep unease. She whispered like a mantra over and over, "Mom will come back. Mom will come back." At the bar, Jade Robinson, 26, wiped the counter with a frayed, damp cloth. Her eyes kept drifting to table number 7. 3 weeks into her job at Lumiere Jade was no stranger to the coldly powerful clientele, those who treated others as utilities, not people. But this time, something about Clara held her gaze. Jade knew that look, the desperate grasp for a world she couldn't see. Her younger brother Daniel had gone blind 5 years ago. Seeing Clara was like seeing Daniel in those first days when light vanished from his life. She spoke softly to Kevin, the afternoon shift manager. Table 7 still hasn't been served. Kevin didn't look up from his phone. VIP, waiting for her mom, Mrs. Bennett. No one touches it. You know the rules. That name was like a code. Victoria Bennett, CEO of Bennett Technologies, a woman of power, pride, and notorious for not forgiving anyone who overstepped with her daughter. Jade nodded, but her eyes returned to Clara just as the girl accidentally knocked over the table's vase. Water spilled, soaking her dress. Clara frantically grabbed napkins, trying to wipe it up in vain. No one in the cafe moved. Pitying glances, some tinged with disdain, but not a single person stood. Jade set her cloth down. She didn't calculate. She didn't ask permission. She didn't wait for safety. She just did what was right. Hi, Jade knelt beside Clara, her voice soft as a breeze. I'm Jade. I'm here to help. Clara froze. Are you Mom's friend? No, I work here. But I saw you needed someone. I spilled the water. Mom will be so mad. It's no big deal, Jade said gently, drying Clara's dress with a clean cloth. I don't see any bad stains. Are you cold from the water? Clara gave a fleeting smile, her first in 2 hours. You're lying about the stains. Jade laughed. Maybe a little white lie. But you're pretty smart, aren't you? Grown-ups always lie like that. But I can tell. A brief silence, then Jade asked softly, Want something warm to drink? Your mom won't mind if you stay warm, right? Clara hesitated. Maybe. I like hot chocolate, but Mom said not to order anything. I won't charge you. It's my treat as a friend. 15 minutes later, table 7 was a different scene. Clara sipped hot chocolate, her fingers guided by Jade to a plate of cookies and a small sandwich. The girl talked about braille books, about classical music that felt like colors in her head. People talk to me like I don't understand anything. You don't. You describe things like I can see them. Maybe because my brother's blind. I learned to look at the person, not the disability. Clara's smile lit up the air, suddenly lighter. But outside, a black Mercedes pulled up to the curb. Inside, Victoria Bennett watched silently through one-way glass. The woman with eyes like steel, whose face had graced Forbes, stared at her daughter, smiling for the first time in weeks. Not because of her, not because of anyone in her world, but because of a waitress in a worn apron. Shall I come in with you, ma'am? The driver asked. No, Victoria replied. Wait here. Victoria entered, ignoring everyone, heading straight to table 7. Jade Robinson, correct. Jade stood, heart pounding. Yes, ma'am. You served my daughter without permission. She was scared. 2 hours passed and no one noticed. Mom, Clara chirped. Jade told me about constellations you can feel with your hands. Victoria saw the chocolate stains, the crumbs, and the smile, but she said only one cold sentence. How much for this? No charge, it's a gift, Jade replied firmly. Victoria gave a slight nod. Let's go, Clara. Clara clung to her mother's hand. Can we come back tomorrow? Jade's going to teach me to tell cappuccino from macchiato by smell. Victoria didn't answer, but her eyes lingered on Jade a moment longer. When the cafe door closed behind them, Kevin pulled Jade into the office. You just ended your probation. Thanks for making things harder. Jade said nothing. She just breathed deeply. She didn't regret it. That night in her small rundown apartment, Jade found an eviction notice slipped under the door. Unpaid bills sat on the table. She slumped down, opening her phone. Daniel's voice came through. Sis, I know you lost your job, but you always say everything happens for a reason. Right. Before she could answer, the intercom buzzed. Jade Robinson, I'm Margaret Chun, legal assistant for Bennett Technologies. Mrs. Victoria Bennett requests your presence tomorrow at 9 a.m. Jade set the phone down. The wind outside grew stronger. Maybe things were only beginning. Chapter 2, The Invitation You Can't Refuse. An invitation from Victoria Bennett was never a small thing. It didn't come via email, not a polite call from a secretary. It was a summons delivered by a legal assistant, true to the elite's style. Jade stood before the Bennett Technologies tower, gazing up at its glass facade reflecting gray clouds. Her dress, the best she owned from a thrift shop, was neat but couldn't hide the gap between her and the world inside. In the mirrored elevator, suited employees avoided her eyes, their fleeting glances reminding her, you don't belong here. The 45th floor opened to a different world. Minimalist glass steel, cold golden lights. No noise, only precision. A petite woman with platinum hair and a tight bun approached her badge reading Margaret Chun, legal. She didn't offer a handshake. This way, Mrs. Bennett is waiting. The expansive meeting room overlooked the city, but Victoria wasn't looking out. She stood with her back to the door like a marble statue. Only when Jade entered did she speak low, decisive, Ms. Robinson. Please sit. No thank you, no pleasantries. Victoria turned. Her dark gray suit bore no jewelry, no expression. She gestured to a thick envelope in front of Jade. This is compensation for wrongful termination. I handle things legally. Jade opened it. The sum inside stunned her. Half her rent debt, 2 years of Daniel's tuition, enough to live comfortably for months. Why are you doing this? She asked. Victoria crossed her arms. You don't have to like me, but I don't wrong those who do right. Also, she paused, I have a second offer. I need a companion for Clara, not a nanny, someone she trusts. I don't have time, and Clara doesn't connect with anyone. And me, Jade asked cautiously. You're the exception, Victoria signaled. Margaret presented a second contract, salary 10 times minimum wage, private housing, full-time. Sign now, start tomorrow. Jade set both documents aside. I won't take the compensation. Victoria didn't react. I'll work with Clara, not because you can buy me, but because I believe she deserves someone who sees her as a person, not a symbol. A strange flicker crossed Victoria's face. Not quite annoyance, almost curiosity. You think you understand my daughter. I don't need to understand everything, but I know what it's like to be ignored by the world. Silence stretched tight as a bowstring. Then Victoria stepped to the window. Do you know why I left Clara alone yesterday? Jade didn't answer. I call it a test. I wanted to see if when I stepped back from control, anyone would act kindly without expecting reward. You used your daughter as bait. Jade couldn't hold back. Clara knew. It was a game. To teach her the truth about the world. Or to teach her she can't trust anyone. Victoria turned her eyes sharp as knives. But Jade didn't bow her head. Interesting, Victoria said softly, then nodded. The contract stands if you accept, even without the money. Jade signed, a small signature but a monumental marker. As Jade left the meeting room, a man waited near the elevator. Polished, graying hair, eyes unlike anyone else on the floor. He gave a slight nod. Jade Robinson, right? Yes. And you are Trevor Bennett. A pause, then he continued, I heard about yesterday. Clara told me. You did well. Jade sensed something deeper in his praise. You're Victoria's brother, the one she never mentions. He gave a faint smile. Before stepping into the elevator, Trevor left her with a chilling remark. Clara is special and very vulnerable. There's a lot you don't know about Victoria in the past. Like what? What? You'll find out. But if you ever need advice free from control, call me. He walked away, leaving Jade with a heavy premonition. The next morning, Jade arrived at the Bennett estate. Everything was scheduled: private car, Clara's personal nurse, cameras lining the halls. a world designed for absolute control, except for the emotions of a blind girl learning to trust for the first time. Jade entered Clara's room. The girl sat, fingers gliding over a braille book. "You came," Clara said, not looking up. "I thought Mom would change her mind." "I promised." Clara smiled. "Do you know Braille?" "Not yet, but I can learn." Clara handed her a small book. "I'll teach you." Jade sat, beginning the first lines, not with eyes but with trust. Outside, Victoria watched through one-way glass. The door had opened, but she didn't step in. As if, hesitating between two paths, continued control or letting go. One thing was certain from today: the woman who controlled everything with contracts and reputation would face the one person she couldn't bend, a regular girl who couldn't be bought. Chapter 3: The Truth Behind Closed Eyes. Clara was no longer the timid girl at table number 7. 3 weeks after Jade entered her world, Clara had changed in ways no one in the Bennett household expected. She woke early each morning, eager with a question. "What are we learning today, Jade?" Jade taught her to bake by touch, to distinguish Earl Grey from oolong by scent, even to read people's moods through their footsteps. Clara laughed more, asked more, trusted more. But in those blind eyes, Jade still saw something missing. A darkness not just physical, but a silence locked deep in her soul. And it carried the scent of secrets. One afternoon, while Clara napped, Jade tidied the girl's bookshelf to make room for tactile maps. She found a small box tucked deep in a corner. Inside was a leather-bound diary and a silk-wrapped USB drive. In her sleep, Clara murmured a single word: Trevor. That night in her private room, Jade plugged the USB into her laptop. A series of files appeared: family videos, photos of Clara with bright eyes, laughter echoing in a garden. But then a news clip: CEO Victoria Bennett causes serious accident. Victim her own daughter. The headline was crossed out, the video cut off mid-frame. Next was an email from Trevor Bennett to Victoria. "The records are sealed, press silenced. Lead doctor paid off. But Vic, you can't run forever. Clara will find out, and I won't survive if she sees me as I really am." Jade pulled out her earphones, frozen in the blue glow of the screen. She had taken her daughter's sight, and worse, Clara didn't know. The next day, Jade met Trevor at his art gallery. She didn't need to say much. Trevor saw her eyes and nodded. "I'm guessing you found the email on the USB. She deserves to know." Trevor sighed. "I wanted to tell her. But Vic, she's not evil. She's a woman trapped by fear of losing her daughter after causing it herself. And she's hiding that Clara could be treated." Trevor nodded, his eyes heavy. "There's a clinic outside the city. They propose stem cell therapy. 60% success rate. But Vic refused. The real reason: if Clara could see again, she'd see her." 3 days later, Victoria told Jade she was taking Clara to a charity meeting. But Jade checked. No meeting was scheduled. A gut feeling rose. Jade slipped a small tracker into Clara's bag before mother and daughter left. 3 hours later, the signal stopped at a clinic nearly 100 kilometers from the city. Trevor joined Jade in a car immediately. The clinic, nestled among pine trees, looked like a luxury retreat. No signage, no public records. Jade and Trevor hid behind one-way glass in the reception area. Inside, Clara sat on an exam chair, confused. A doctor checked her eyes while Victoria stood, arms crossed, face taut. "We'll need to repeat tests," the doctor said. "There's a chance the optic cells aren't fully dead." Victoria shook her head. "I need confirmation it's not viable." "Like always." "Ma'am, the new method shows promise." "No," her voice was steel. "I need proof, no hope." Trevor gripped Jade's hand. "See, she's killing her slowly by taking away her choices." Jade clenched her fist. "This can't go on." As Clara stepped into the hallway, faint light touched her face. Jade approached. "Jade, it's me. You okay?" "They checked my eyes again." "I don't understand." Mom wouldn't let the doctor say anything. Jade glanced at Victoria, who stood stunned by their sudden appearance. Trevor stepped forward first. "Vic, stop. You've controlled enough." Victoria's voice was icy. "I'm doing what's best for Clara." "Best, or what's best for your fear?" Silence. Jade knelt gently, taking Clara's hand. "Clara, do you want the truth?" The girl nodded slightly. Jade took a breath. "The accident that took your sight, your mom was driving. She hid it because she's afraid you won't forgive her." Clara was silent for a long time. Not a sound. Then she turned toward her mother. "I don't hate you for the accident." Victoria's eyes widened. "I hate that you didn't let me know, didn't let me choose, didn't let me hope." Victoria staggered. Trevor steadied her. The face of the powerful woman cracked for the first time in years. Clara whispered, "I don't need perfection. I just need honesty." On the drive back, no one spoke. The air was thick, heavy, but necessary. Clara fell asleep in Jade's arms, still holding her hand. Victoria sat across, eyes red, watching her daughter as if she were the last lighthouse in a night she'd created. That night, Victoria entered Jade's room. No power, no defenses. Thank you. No one's ever dared to do that. Jade replied, Clara doesn't need me to be a hero. She needs you to be human. Victoria was silent for a long time, then said only, tomorrow I'll call the clinic. No more blocking. Jade nodded. No smile, no victory. Just the start of something right. Chapter 4, The Music of Forgiveness. Change sometimes begins not from light, but from a crack small enough for hope to slip through. Clara started treatment at the suburban clinic a week after the confrontation in the cold hallway. At first, she didn't dare believe. Like someone who'd lived in darkness too long, she feared an open window. Jade was there for every appointment, every injection, every day of waiting. Victoria was there too, not as the commanding woman, but as a mother learning to wait for forgiveness. Then one morning, Clara sat by a window and gasped, I see orange. Is that a sunflower? Jade didn't answer. She just nodded, hugging Clara tightly. For the first time, Clara didn't feel light through touch. She saw it with eyes thought forever closed. 2 months later, Wellington Academy, where Jade's brother Daniel studied music, held a fundraiser for the Clara Bennett Vision Support Fund, a new initiative sponsored by Victoria and run by Jade. The auditorium wasn't large, but every seat was filled. No media per Victoria's request. She no longer needed the spotlight. She needed truth. Clara sat in the front row, hands clasped with Jade's. She still wore sunglasses, but her eyes now smiled. Trevor sat beside her, his gaze warm. Victoria lingered quietly in the back, like a shadow she'd never before allowed herself to be. Daniel took the stage. His suit fit perfectly, hair neatly combed. No one guided him. The blind 16-year-old found his place at the piano and spoke to the audience. The next piece I wrote for tonight. It's called A Friend's Mother. For a mother who dared to change, for the one she loves, and for everyone who thought they couldn't start over. No one clapped. Not from lack of feeling, but because everyone held their breath. The melody began gentle, somber, then rising into soaring, urgent chords like rain after a drought. The music didn't tell a story, but everyone knew it was Victoria's. And when the final note lingered, an unresolved chord like an unfinished apology, Victoria bowed her head, crying silently. For the first time in front of others. Not from judgment, but from being seen through forgiveness. After the performance, as people took photos, hugged and shared congratulations, a woman approached Jade. Excuse me. Jade Robinson. Yes, indeed. And you are? Elena. I was Victoria's executive assistant, fired 3 years ago. Jade stayed silent. Elena gave a small smile. I'm not here to blame. I'm here to ask to join the fund. I've seen her change, and I want to believe that if I couldn't forgive, then I can start now. Jade gently squeezed her hand. Thank you. The fund isn't just for kids, it's for anyone carrying hurt. Weeks later, at the new Clara Bennett Vision Support Fund headquarters, a bright open space with braille reading rooms, sound sensory spaces, and sculpting workshops for children, Jade was officially appointed program director, also overseeing community outreach. Victoria signed the decision not in a boardroom, but in the estate's small garden, where Clara was touching a stone statue she'd made. I've never given authority to anyone without an Ivy League degree, Victoria said, not looking at Jade. I never thought I'd lead any fund, Jade replied, smiling. Victoria nodded. Maybe. That's why I chose you. She handed Jade an envelope. This is a list of people who worked under me whom I hurt. If you find anyone ready, invite them back under the fund's name. Jade opened it. Elena's name was at the top. She looked up. Victoria sat quietly watching Clara from afar. Not the gaze of a queen guarding her realm, but of a mother learning to love without control. That night, Jade received a text from Trevor. Clara asked if you'd take her to a studio to record her first song, co-written with Daniel. She's calling it Seeing with the Heart. Jade smiled, replying, absolutely, and this time I'll let her choose everything. She turned off the light, lay down, and thought of those who forgave, not because they were forced, but because they chose it as a way of life. Across the city, Victoria sat before a blank sheet of paper. For the first time, she wrote a public apology letter to those she'd wronged, not to erase her mistakes, but to say she knew she was wrong. At the bottom, she wrote, I may not have known how to love rightly, But today I'm learning to listen, not with power, but with heart. Chapter 5. The final light doesn't come from eyes. When Clara laughed and said, "I see orange-brown, and even deep blue," no one questioned her. Not because they doubted, but because they understood what Clara saw wasn't just colors. It was the miracle of life, of healing, of something greater than any treatment. 6 months after starting treatment, Clara could discern light, shadow, some colors, and large shapes. But more than that, she learned to see with her heart and taught her mother, who once controlled everything but the truth, to do the same. Today was Clara's 11th birthday. No more extravagant cakes for the elite, no tuxedoed guests chasing social clout. Instead, there were children like Clara, blind kids from orphanages, special schools, and rehab centers across the city. The Bennett estate, once a fortress of cold power, now echoed with bright laughter, stomping feet on grass, and the clink of children's hands against clay statues. Clara stood in the back garden hosting a small exhibit of her touch to see sculptures made of clay, rough fabric, textured wood, and hard resin. "I call it freedom because I don't see everything, but I feel it when my hands aren't held back," she explained as a blind boy ran his fingers over her first statue. Jade smiled nearby, holding a guest list she no longer needed to check. Everything that mattered was here: children, joy, and a mother learning to stay in the background. At the garden's edge, Victoria Bennett watched quietly, dressed simply, no jewelry, no entourage. The woman who once gripped an industry with both hands now held only a warm teacup. Jade approached, handing her a folder. The official transfer. 40% of the Clara Fund's operational control, full planning, and budgeting authority. "You sure?" Victoria didn't look at the documents. She watched Clara, who was showing a blind girl how to shape a star from clay. "I used to think control was the only way to protect. Now I know. Sometimes the best protection is letting someone choose their path." She handed Jade the pen. "Sign for me." As the ink-dried power had officially shifted, not to another person, but to a different philosophy of life. At the party's end, as guests began to leave, Clara called Victoria over. "Mom, I have a gift for you." It was a tactile painting, thick paper layered with fabric and fine sand. At its center, an uneven sun surrounded by rings of light made from varied textures: rough, soft, warm, cold. Clara explained, "You don't need to see to understand. Each ring is a phase: darkness, silence, hope, and finally, forgiveness." Below was a line in Braille. Clara touched each dot, reading clearly, "Sometimes you must lose light to learn how to see." Victoria gripped her daughter's hand. "Do you forgive me?" Clara nodded, smiling. "I forgave you long ago. I was just waiting for you to forgive yourself." No tears, just silence, the calm silence after a long storm. A week later, at the Clara Fund's headquarters, Jade held her first meeting as director. Trevor, Elena, and Daniel were there. Daniel, now a volunteer music teacher, spoke. "I thought light was gone forever. But today I realize sometimes light is someone believing in you, a hand reaching out, a note played at the right moment." Jade didn't add to it. She just opened the first slide: strategic vision, touch to see, touch to understand, touch to love. Days later at Wellington Academy, Clara and Daniel performed their new song, "Seeing with the Heart." Clara sat by the piano, tapping the rhythm, singing simple lyrics. "I don't see your face, but I hear your gentle voice. I don't see your smile, but I feel your heart soften. I don't see the past, but I see my future shine." Victoria sat in the back, eyes misty. Not from sadness, but from feeling free for the first time. No need to control, no need to hide. That night, as everyone left, Clara walked alone in the garden. She stood among her sculptures, lightly touching each shape. Every statue was a piece of memory. Victoria approached. "Aren't you afraid to walk alone?" Clara's voice was soft as falling leaves. "No, because now I see light, not just with my eyes, but with the people walking beside me." Inside the estate, Jade placed a bouquet on the reception table. Beside it was an unsent letter. Sender, Jade Robinson. Recipient, anyone who thought they couldn't change a thing. She wrote at the end, "I didn't change the world. I just did what was right in a world too used to fear. And sometimes that's enough to start everything anew." The story of Jade, Clara, and Victoria is not just a journey through adversity, but a testament to a profound truth. Healing doesn't come from power, wealth, or unrealistic miracles. It comes from forgiveness, truth, and humanity. Jade, an ordinary woman with nothing but a steadfast heart and kindness, dared to face power, not to topple it, but to awaken the human within it. Clara, a blind child, proved that light doesn't need eyes, but the ability to feel and live true to one's values. And Victoria, who once believed control was love, Learn to love anew through letting go and embracing truth. The story reminds us anyone can err, but no one is beyond change if they have the courage to face their fears and past. Forgiveness born of compassion rather than weakness has the power to heal not just one person, but broken relationships. And finally, seeing with the heart is not just a song or philosophy, it's a quiet reminder that in a world sometimes blinded by prejudice and power, true light is what we give each other through kindness and sincerity. Because sometimes just one person truly seeing you is enough to start everything over.